Friends, with joyful hearts, let us worship God. And may we begin with a moment of silence, followed by prayer. Lord, in the 50 minutes that are before us, help us to sense your presence. Amen.
And let us begin our prayer this morning with listening. Let us pray. We listen, O God, to the waves lapping. We listen to our spirit speaking, sometimes crying, sometimes shouting with joy. Spirit of the living God, may we know what it is to be hidden in you, and in this knowing, experience the most joyful freedom of being alive. Amen.
That was a good prayer. This is kind of a dark baptismal journey. It may sound kind of dark to you, but I think it's a hopeful song. It's called Driving to the End of the World. Something in my pocket I can't sell. I drink water from an empty well. Fire in my belly burns. I could be one wrong turn from hell. Left my home in somewhere Idaho, southbound to places I don't know. Took off without a trace. Need cleansing now, but grace feels slow. I'm feeling so alone. 1,000 miles from home. I hope the sun rises soon. Driving to the end of the world. Driving to the end of the world. Moon cuts my eyes till I can't see. Feels like somebody's trailing me. I think I'm losing hold. No one else out on this road but me. I'm feeling so alone. 1,500 miles from home. I hope the sun rises soon. I'm driving to the end of the world. Driving to the end of the world. Three days and one lifetime away. Launch a train to St. Bernard Highway. Follow the bayou road. Drive till there's no place left to go. Everything that brought you here speaks to you across all time. Can you see through your fear? Do you know what's on the line? Hey! Thunder rattles deep inside my brain. There's no one left for me to blame. Leave my pain by the side of the road. Step into Louisiana rain. Am I so alone? 2,000 miles from home. I pray the sun will rise today. Standing at the end of the world. Standing at the end of the world.
Friends, please take a moment and greet one another in another language. Guten Morgen. Guten Morgen. Guten Morgen. What a spectacular international crowd we have. Thank you so much for joining us for this morning's service of worship. And we especially welcome those of you who are visitors or guests or with us for the first time. If you'd like to leave your name and email address on the book over by where Patrick is. Hi, Patrick. There's a green book, and leave your name and email address, and we can put you on our list and let you know about the kinds of things we have going on in the weeks ahead. In particular, this coming Friday night, right here at this shelter and this beach, beginning at 6:30, we have the first ever community church drum circle. And it's going to be way fun. There's already over 50 people who have signed up. You're welcome to bring a beverage of your choice. Bring a drum or something to bang on if you have it. If you don't, we're actually bringing in a professional drum circle facilitator who has lots of extra drums to bang on, and it should be a blast. And so think about this. You're surrounded by 50 or 60, 70 friends. You've got a drum to hit. The waves are rolling in, and then a full moon's going to be coming up in the east. And so it's going to be a blast. And so if you'd like to sign up for that, there's no charge. Just leave your name on the table there, or you can always sign up on the church website. And of course, we'd love it if you'd bring your friends. So and also, it's not an age sort of thing. It's not adults only. It's not a child's event. But we sort of think children can also have great fun banging on a drum. So anybody and everybody sounds great to us. I want to say thank you to David Hawk for providing music. Sermon in two shorter portions this morning. I guess we know we're getting older when we spend more time watching and less time doing. Such has been the case with me this summer when on Friday a friend asked me if I'd spent any time on the water this past summer. They knew that water sports, particularly sailing, had been a passion for most of my life. And I thought about it for a second and I said, you know, I have not set foot on a boat the entire summer, which not that long ago would be entirely unfathomable for me. The closest I've come to being on a boat is coming down to the water here each Sunday and also hitting 3 or 4 dozen golf balls into local water holes. And while watching for me still does not replace doing, I absolutely have found an extraordinary kind of joy this summer in watching the water. In particular, at a nearby pond where mama mallards this spring and summer on a small pond have 3 broods, a grand total of 27 ducklings. Now, almost immediately after a duckling is hatched, they're precocial, so they can swim and they can eat immediately. And if you've seen them, I'm sure you have, they follow their mama in a tight little pack everywhere they go, never getting more than a few inches away, often mimicking mama duck's behavior by non-stop yapping themselves. It seems as soon as they discover that they know how to quack, they love to quack, they love to listen to themselves. And so they swim together in this furry, tight little pack, these feathery little bundles, and flitting along here and there around the pond, always on the surface. As they grow, the ducklings spend each day on the pond, always together, though once in a while, as they grow just a bit, one will wander away from the raft of siblings. That elicits a fierce quack, 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 quack from mama. Translated from duck into English, that means, get your little ducktail back in the pack. And the wayward duckling scoots along in with the others, always remaining on the surface. As they continue to grow, it seems that they begin to train for their post-duckling life. When about half grown, they spend a lot of time paddling very swiftly, sometimes furiously around the pond, like a child who just loves to run. And they sprint across the water top, sometimes because a sound has alarmed them. Other times it's like they're doing some sort of pre-flight school. You know, in the middle of the pond is the runway, and 2 or 3 at a time scoot along the top of the water as quickly as they can, kind of like little hydroplanes barely touching the water. They do everything when they sprint but spread their wings and take off. And they prefer to remain on the surface. Then as they continue to mature, they do something most of you all have seen. They start to dip not just their beaks and their heads and their necks, but the whole front end of their body into the water, and their little duck butts point up in the air. You've seen it. For the first time, they're starting to go below the surface to search for food. They'll eat, by the way, most anything and everything. They'll eat worms and insects and plants, you name it. People who are experts in the duck world call them dabblers, an apt phrase, for they just kind of dabble below the surface. It requires a momentary stretch for them, but they're mostly comfortable remaining on the surface. Then, with the exception of a number of spirited ducklings I've noticed this year, there are a few for whom occasional dabbling is not enough. They're like loons. They just don't stick their head and their beak into the water and let their fanny go up in the air. Instead, they dive deep. They choose to explore below the surface of what is comfortable for them, what they know. They go 4 and 6 and 8 and 10 feet, maybe 12 feet down into the silent, uncertain world below the surface. I hope at this stage of the game some of the parallels are obvious for we who tend to live our lives on the surface, where life is known to us, where things are generally pretty comfortable, and where, like the ducks, every once in a while we choose to dabble a little bit below the surface. We go deep enough to get a glimpse of a different kind of life, and maybe we're even fed just a little bit. But we choose not to go so deep that things really change in our lives. There are some, though, among us for whom dabbling on occasion is not enough, who recognize that it is that life that's unseen to us that is the spiritual life in the world. It's where we find the source to whom we belong. And those people seeking the source, seeking that unseen spiritual life, dive down in a variety of ways. Through prayer, through worship, through meditation, through yoga, through silence, through simply being present in nature. And for those people who dare to venture below the surface, they find a kind of nourishment that living on the surface simply cannot provide. I would dare say that most of us, myself included, consider ourselves dabblers. Occasionally peeking below the surface. Sometimes life forces us through circumstances to go below the surface. That's okay. You need to want to go deeper. You need to want to go below the surface. Don't ever let anybody try and trick you into going where you don't want to go or scare you into it. But if you're in a place where you'd like to go deeper, here's a challenge. Simply pray twice a day for 5 minutes for a week. And then come back and tell me next week how that went for you. Even that small exercise below the surface may open your heart and your mind and your life in some ways. The second thing you might try, go somewhere by yourself with your phone off for 20 minutes and be silent and be still. The third option, give Zach a call. Give me a call. We'd love to talk about it and reflect and think about what life below the surface might look like. The final thing I noticed, when baby ducklings begin their life, if you watch them around a pond, they're almost like a rack on a pool table, a perfect triangle. Mama is always in the lead. And everywhere they go, they're like a triangle. They get to a place, though, in their lives where Mama disappears. Suddenly, the ducks are in the lead. Those ducklings have free will. They have the choice to swim wherever they want. They are absolutely 100% free. Mama is not in sight. But just as with us and the Spirit, where is Mama? She's behind them. She's not seen. But like the Spirit, she's silent and always present. Amen.
She loves you. She loves you. She loves you. You think you lost your love? I saw her yesterday. It's you she's thinking of. She told me what to say. She said she loves you, and you know that can't be bad. She loves you, you know you should be glad. Says you hurt her so, she almost lost her mind. Now she says she knows you're not the hurting kind, and that she loves you, and you know that can't be bad. loves you. You know you should be glad. She loves you. She loves you. With a love like that, you know you should be glad. You know it's up to you. I think it's only fair. Pride can hurt you too. Apologize to her because she loves you, and you know that can't be bad. She loves you. You know you should be glad. She loves you. She loves you. With a love like that, you know you should be glad. With a love like that, you know you should be glad. With a love like that, you know you should be glad.
David, thank you. A question. Do human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute? That's the question posed by Emily in Thornton Wilder's play, Our Town. In the play, Emily dies in childbirth, but is granted a unique experience. The stage manager allows her to return from death to live one day of life with her family. Emily, understandably, has sky-high hopes for that day, but ultimately she's disappointed. And Emily shares her frustration with the stage manager, saying, "We don't have time to look at one another." And then she breaks down and begins to cry and says, "I didn't realize, with all that going on, that we never noticed." Do human beings ever really realize life while they live it? Every minute? The stage manager pauses and he says, No, maybe some saints, maybe a few poets, but that's pretty much it. As the author Don Postuma offers in his fine book, Space for God, there lies in Emily's observation a real challenge for you and for me to realize life while we're living it. Every minute. And so the path to that is to learn a lesson from our Buddhist brothers and sisters who encourage us to be not in a bunch of moments, but in one moment. Right here, right now. So that if we're chopping wood, we're only chopping wood. If we're carrying water, we're only carrying water. If we're doing the dishes in the kitchen, we're only doing the dishes. And to live that kind of conscious, intentional life means that we pay attention to our surroundings. To feel the wind, to listen to the children, to hear the waves, and to appreciate as best we can every minute of every day. close your mouth. Take as deep of a breath through your nose as you can and hold it for a moment. And then exhale. How many breaths do we take during the course of a day without any awareness of the gift that it is? Or close your eyes. Keep them shut for a moment. Now open them. What a gift. What a gift our eyesight is. For those of you who've had a cup of coffee, did you take a second to taste it before you gulp down the caffeine you've convinced yourself you need? Or have you thought for just a second about the human being to your left or to your right, and how blessed we are to travel through life with them? Or even to appreciate nature, which does everything from feed us, to inspire us, to entertain us with the songs of the birds, to inspire us with this great lake. I think the stage manager in our town, Thornton Wilder's Our Town, missed one group whose practice forces them to live at a deeper awareness and with understanding. And those people are the artists in our world. Vincent van Gogh once wrote, "To be an artist is to grasp life at its very depth." And that's the call for us. The call for us is to be artists of our own lives, to pay attention, to dare to move from the surface like those little ducklings where they spend their lives and plumb the depths of our own lives, taking the time and making the time to go below the surface and do what Emily calls us to do in our town, which is to realize life as best we can each and every moment. Now, what's the challenge? What keeps us from living life and being aware of the moment that we're in as we're experiencing it? Well, it's the same excuse we have pretty much for everything. Time. Well, I don't have time to sit here and soak it in and pay attention. I'm too busy. I never have enough time. Well, guess what? Jesus never had enough time. Multiple times in the Gospels, like from Mark chapter 6, it writes, there were so many people coming at him constantly that he didn't even have a chance to eat. Or in Mark chapter 3, a great story. Jesus enters a house with his disciples. Again, a crowd pours through the door. Once again, he's so busy addressing the needs of everyone that he and his disciples don't have time to eat. When Jesus' family heard about this, it says in verse 21, when his family heard about this, they went to take charge of him, for they said, he's out of his mind. Jesus' own family thought he was going crazy because he was so busy. What did he do to solve that problem? He went off into the hills. He found time to be by himself, to be still. Perfect idea for Jesus. How realistic is that for most of us? Yeah, hello, boss. You know what? I'm a little stressed out right now. I'm going to head for the hills for 3 or 4 days and just be still, commune with nature. Yeah, I'll catch up with you when I'm back in town. Bye-bye. Not so easy for those of us with jobs and families and lives that keep calling us to do more. And so what do? We don't go below the surface. we don't have time, we think. And so we just get in this mode where we do more, where we try to accomplish more. We do that by multitasking. And then life starts to feel pretty good because we're getting all this stuff accomplished. Placing checks on the list of all the things we have to do. Consider yours truly this last Friday. I was heading on a train to Chicago. I was preparing for a lunch meeting. I had my earbuds in, so I was listening to music. I was working on this message. I was replying to emails that popped up on my screen. And I was trying to read this book, posthumous book I referred to just a moment ago. I was doing a spectacular job of living life a mile wide and a quarter-inch deep, trying to accomplish as much as I possibly could on the surface of my life. And then it struck me, absurd, ridiculous, overwhelming irony of the moment was that as I prepared a message about living a deeper life of substance, plumbing the depths of our existence, living and daring to go below the surface where we find the Spirit, I'm doing the exact opposite of what I'm encouraging all of you to do. And so about the Indian Hill stop on the way downtown, I took out my earbuds, I closed the computer screen, I shut the book, and I sat there in the corner of the upper deck of the train, that seat at the very end that I like, that's kind of the double seat, where I can spread stuff out so I can accomplish more. And I just gazed out that green train window at the not-so-exciting landscape passing by. I figured shutting everything down would be good for me. That's what I needed. And I forced myself to just sit there for once in my life, which I don't do very well. And the first thing that occurred to me was this. It's an ongoing theme in my life. Even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. And second, a little bit more, maybe of a profound message was this. In that silence, in that open moment, where there's nothing being forced into my head, and I'm not trying to accomplish a thing, I ask myself the question, what am I trying to accomplish? What is this all about? Why do I do what I do? Why do we do what we do? So we can be successful and people can say, oh, well, look, your church has people showing up. Is that what I'm trying to accomplish? To get butts in seats? Or to have an organization where Zach and I can pay for our families' lives? Or is it to do God's work? Because last time I checked, God needed us to do God's work. Or is it somehow to partner with all of you and develop your spiritual life? And I felt so overwhelmed in that moment of questioning that it struck me that time isn't the issue. Time is always the same. It's just a question of what we do with it. That's our excuse. The bigger issue is what happens to you and me when we call time out to the rat race, when we step off the treadmill, and we dare to just gaze out that green window with no agenda. That's the challenge, because when we stop, it's exactly what it would have been like this morning if you got out of the shower and you walked over to that full-length mirror and you're naked as a jaybird and you go, oh, that's what I look like? That's what happens when we step off the treadmill, when we call time out to the rat race. And so what do? Well, we stay busy. We keep accomplishing. We keep the TV on and the radio on and our earbuds in, and we keep our phones nearby, wired to email and text and phone and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and we keep the noise going full blast, and we multitask ourselves to death because that's infinitely easier than standing naked and asking ourselves, what is it I'm trying to accomplish in this life of mine? Doesn't matter if you're a CEO, you're an architect, you're retired, you're a teacher, you're an artist, you're a musician, you're a mom, you're a dad. For every single one of us here and everyone on the planet not here, here's the question for us. And it's a question that requires us to go a little bit below the surface, more than just dabbling. It might be the very best question I know on planet Earth. And it was posed by the wonderful poet Mary Oliver in her poem, The Summer Day. The question is this: what is it that I'm going to do with my one wild and precious life? Take that with you. What am I going to do with my one wild and precious life? Amen. Friends, we'll be, and just as a sidebar, at our first service during Joys and Concerns, one person seated over here stood up and he said, you know, David Hawkins was my English teacher in high school, and you know what? He changed my life. And I know that there are always many among us who are thinking about whether we feel great about the lives that we're in, or maybe we're transitioning to a second or a third act. And I guess what I'd say is David is an awesome example of someone who had an impact in the first act of his life. And I think he probably asked that question, what am I going to do with my one wild and precious life? And the answer for a while was be a teacher. And he was a great teacher. Now, in his second act, he continues to inspire and lift us up. David?
Well, I'd like to say this is the world debut of this song, but actually the earlier service was the world debut of this song. And Cheryl, who helped me with this song, hadn't even heard it all the way through. I think there's another writer of this song, too. World is falling down, your burden weighs too much. Weary to the bone, you're hungry for some touch that heals the sick, that kind of raise the dead, cast out all fear, fill you with love instead. There comes a point in every lifetime, don't know if you'll make it through. Oh, all you want to do is let your light shine on everything around you. Oh, reach up, reach up, reach up. Temptation calls your name, tells you another lie. No one's missing you, you think you might as well die. Hounds on your trail, snapping at your heels. At the crossroads again, thinking about that deal. There comes a point in every lifetime, don't know if you'll make it through. Oh, all you want to do is let your light shine on everyone around you. Oh, reach up, reach up, oh, reach up, oh, reach up, reach up, reach up. As your vision clarifies, you'll know time has come to take that step and trust that you'll be sure. As you awake and begin to feel each breath you take brings you something real. You still want to hide, but there's so much to learn. And deep inside, you know your spirit still burns. Your spirit still burns. There comes a point in every lifetime, don't know if you'll make it through. Oh, all you want to do is let your light shine on everyone, at every time, on everything around you. Oh, reach up, reach up, oh, reach up. Reach up, reach up, reach up, reach up, reach up, oh, reach up.
So in the business world these days, there's a hip word or phrase, disruptors. Organizations, companies, people that disrupt the status quo and shake things up and try and make things happen. And that Mary Oliver question is kind of a disruptor for us. And while it is a challenge and it's difficult, the reality is, if you sit with it a while, it becomes not a disruptive question, but in fact, a life-changing friend and question that may inspire you to places you maybe thought you'd never go. Ask yourself that question. What is it you wish to do with your one wild and precious life? And as you grapple with that question, know that you take not a step without God by your side. Go in peace. And the people said,